There is a very specific, very heavy kind of silence that I think almost every guy has experienced at least once in his life. You know the one. It happens when a woman who used to light up your phone, who used to stay up late talking about absolutely nothing with you, suddenly just goes quiet. The paragraphs turn into one-word replies. The instant responses turn into hours of waiting. And eventually you are just left staring at a screen, wondering what on earth went wrong.
It is a brutal feeling. It is this sudden emotional whiplash. And the confusion is so heavy because your brain immediately goes into overdrive. You start running through every conversation, every text, every joke you made. You ask yourself if you said the wrong thing, if she is testing you, or if she just woke up one day and lost interest. But the real tragedy isn't the silence itself. The real tragedy is what happens next. In that exact moment of panic, the vast majority of men make the single biggest mistake of their dating lives.
Oh, the panic response. It is almost completely universal. You feel her slipping away. So what do? You grip tighter. You start double texting. Then comes the triple text. You call her when she doesn't reply. You draft these massive, deeply emotional paragraphs, trying to logically explain your feelings or begging for a scrap of her attention. You think you are showing her how much you care, but the reality is entirely different, isn't it?
Entirely different. Because here is the harsh truth about female psychology that so many guys completely misunderstand. When you do all of that, you are actively pushing her further away. Women do not fall in love with pressure. They do not fall in love with words on a screen. They fall in love with how a man makes them feel. And absolutely nothing kills attraction faster than desperation. When a woman creates distance, your reaction in that exact moment dictates everything. It decides whether she eventually comes back or whether you extinguish whatever spark was left for good.
That is such a crucial point. We are conditioned by movies and pop culture to believe that chasing is romantic. The guy standing outside with the boombox, the endless pursuit. But in reality, when a woman pulls back, chasing just communicates extreme insecurity. It shows you cannot handle your own emotions without her validation. But before we get into the ultimate solution, we have to ask the obvious question. Why do they do it? Does a woman just wake up and decide to ghost a guy for no reason?
Rarely. I would say almost never. There is always a current moving beneath the surface, and understanding that current is the key to not losing your mind. There are generally 5 core psychological reasons why a woman creates that sudden distance. The first one is that she is testing your emotional strength. And I don't necessarily mean she sits down and consciously plots a test. It is deeply wired into female psychology. She pulls back slightly to see what you are made of. Are you a rock that stays grounded, or do you completely crumble the second she stops giving you validation? Women are biologically and psychologically drawn to stability.
That makes perfect sense. It is like leaning against a wall to see if it will hold your weight. If the wall collapses the moment you put pressure on it, you are never going to trust it again. If a guy panics after 3 hours of silence, he is showing her he is not a stable force. What is the second reason?
The second reason is a tough pill to swallow. She might just be losing interest or getting bored. Sometimes, a guy becomes too available. He is too predictable. His entire life revolves around her texts. By pulling away, she is subconsciously checking to see if you actually have a life of your own, if you are a man who values himself. If you immediately chase her, you prove her right. You prove that you were entirely dependent on her for your happiness, which instantly lowers your value in her eyes.
Ouch, that is a hard truth, but a necessary one. It is the classic dynamic of supply and demand. If your attention is constantly available in unlimited quantities, it loses its value. But it is not always about playing games or losing interest, right? Sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with the guy.
Exactly, and that brings us to the third reason. She might just be overwhelmed. Women process emotions deeply. If she is dealing with stress at work, family issues, or just feeling emotionally burnt out, she might retreat into her shell to process things. Here's the catch, though. If she steps back to breathe, and you are standing right there suffocating her with needy messages, she stops seeing you as a supportive partner. She starts seeing you as selfish. You are making her stress about you rather than respecting her need for space.
Which is the exact opposite of being a safe harbor. You become another problem she has to solve. And I imagine the fourth reason is the one that keeps guys up at night. The modern dating landscape is ruthless. We have to talk about the comparison factor.
We do. The fourth reason is that she might be comparing you to other options. It is brutal to hear, but it is the reality of the world we live in. She might be talking to someone else or just internally debating if you are truly the right fit for her. But here's the silver lining. The way you handle this phase can actually tilt the scales in your favor. If you act like a needy, anxious mess, you destroy your own value. If you hold your ground, you stand out. And that ties right into the fifth reason. Often her pulling back is a silent question. She is asking, are you going to lead? Are you a man who stays in control of himself? Or do you need me to manage your emotions for you?
It is fascinating when you break it down like that. In every single one of those 5 scenarios, the absolute worst thing you can do is chase. If she is testing your strength, chasing proves you are weak. If she is bored, chasing proves you are overly available. If she is overwhelmed, chasing makes you a burden. If she is comparing you, chasing lowers your stock. It is like a Chinese finger trap. The harder you pull, the more trapped you get. So the texts have stopped. The calls are ignored. The silence is deafening. What is the one thing a man must do to flip the script?
You do nothing.
Nothing, just completely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. And I need to be very clear about what nothing means. I do not mean doing nothing out of anger. I do not mean giving her the silent treatment out of petty revenge. I mean stepping back into calm, confident silence. You do not beg. You do not send the passive-aggressive question mark. You do not watch all her social media stories to see where she is. You simply stop.
I can hear guys listening to this and thinking, but if I do nothing, she is going to forget about me. I have to remind her I exist. It is so counterintuitive. Why is doing nothing so incredibly powerful?
Because true silence communicates immense strength. Think about the psychology of it. She pulls away, expecting the usual male reaction. She expects the double texts. She expects the panic. When you do not give her that, when you offer absolutely zero resistance, you short-circuit her expectations. You are showing her through action that your inner peace is not dependent on her mood. You are showing her that you respect her space, but more importantly, that you respect yourself. You are not terrified of losing her.
That is such a massive paradigm shift. You are taking the power back without making a single aggressive move. It actually reminds me of a story I heard recently about a guy, let's call him David. It perfectly illustrates this entire dynamic. He met this amazing woman, and the beginning was like a movie. They were texting from morning until night, having these deep, beautiful phone calls. He was completely invested. But then the classic shift happened. She started taking longer to reply. The emojis disappeared. The enthusiasm just evaporated.
And I can guess exactly what David did next.
He did exactly what we were just talking about. He panicked. He sent the "did I do something wrong" text. He sent the "I really miss talking to you" text. And the more he poured his heart out, the colder and more distant she became. He was literally watching the attraction die in real time. But then something clicked for him. He hit a breaking point where his own self-respect finally kicked in. He decided he was done chasing someone who didn't want to be caught.
That is the turning point. What did he actually do?
He went completely silent. He didn't announce his departure. He didn't send a dramatic goodbye message. He just stopped reaching out. He took all that anxious energy he was pouring into his phone and redirected it into his own life. He got back into the gym, reconnected with his friends, threw himself into his career goals. He essentially built a life that was so engaging, he didn't have time to stare at a blank chat screen. And the result? A few weeks later, his phone lights up. It is her. "Hey, stranger, why haven't you texted me?"
That right there is the magic of the pause. Notice the shift in the dynamic. She expected him to keep running after her. When he stopped, the silence became louder than any begging paragraph he could have ever written. Her curiosity piqued. She started wondering, wait, why isn't he chasing me? Did he find someone else? Is he stronger than I thought? That curiosity is the seed of attraction. Women notice when a man has the courage to walk away. It instantly raises his perceived value.
It really makes you think about the deeper philosophical implications of this. Beyond just dating, we live in a hyper-connected society. We are used to instant gratification. If we want food, we click a button. If we want entertainment, we swipe. So when a human being denies us that instant connection, it feels like a glitch in the matrix. We feel this overwhelming urge to fix it immediately. But mastering this kind of confident silence is almost like a modern form of stoicism.
It is exactly stoicism. The core of Stoic philosophy is recognizing what is within your control and what is not. You cannot control a woman's feelings. You cannot control her response time. You cannot control if she needs space. The only thing you have absolute sovereignty over is your own reaction. When you stop trying to control her behavior and start controlling your own emotions, you become incredibly attractive. You become a grounded force in a chaotic world.
And let's be realistic about the outcomes here because we don't want to sell a magic trick. When you employ this calm silence, there are really only two ways the story ends. The first outcome is like David's story. She realizes your value, her respect for you grows, the curiosity pulls her back in, and the dynamic is reset on much healthier, more balanced terms.
Yes, and the second outcome is that she never comes back. She leaves for good. And I know that is the outcome guys are terrified of. But think about it logically. If she leaves and never looks back simply because you stopped suffocating her with attention, she was never truly yours to begin with. You cannot lose something you did not actually have.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. If doing nothing causes her to disappear forever, the foundation was already made of sand.
Precisely. And in that second scenario, look at what you keep. You keep your dignity. You keep your self-respect. You did not demean yourself by begging for someone who did not see your worth. You maintained emotional control, and by letting the wrong person walk out the door naturally, you opened that same door for someone better to walk in. Either way, whether she comes back or she leaves, you win. The strategy never fails because the strategy is ultimately about preserving your own value.
It is a mirror. Her distancing herself is not the end of the world. It is a mirror reflecting your own internal state. Are you ruled by neediness or are you ruled by strength? It is the ultimate test of character.
And it is a test most men fail because they cannot handle the silence. They let their anxiety drive the car. But the man who truly understands human psychology, who understands the mechanics of attraction, knows that sometimes the most powerful, dominant move you can possibly make is no move at all. When you stop running after her, you finally give her the physical and emotional space to actually miss you.
You cannot miss someone who never leaves. It is physically impossible.
Exactly. When you hold your silence, she hears it. And when you respect yourself enough to let go of the outcome, you transform into the kind of man she simply cannot forget. Women are biologically wired to be drawn to leadership and calmness in the face of chaos. If you can be calm when she pulls away, she knows you will be calm when life gets difficult.
So, for anyone listening right now who is staring at a phone that hasn't buzzed in 2 days, fighting the urge to send that long emotional text, don't do it. Put the phone down. Do not panic. Do not beg. Do not try to logically explain why she should pay attention to you. Step back into your own life. Hold your silence. Respect the distance she asked for, even if she didn't use words to ask for it.
Focus entirely on your own value. Because the absolute second you stop chasing, you start attracting. It is a fundamental law of human nature. Stay calm, stay silent, and stay strong. That is how you navigate the silence, and ultimately, that is how you win.
Incredibly powerful insights today. It is about so much more than dating. It is about how we carry ourselves in the world. Thank you all for tuning in. If this conversation brought you value, if it stopped you from sending a text you would have regretted tomorrow, take a moment to reflect on your own worth. We will be back next time with more deep dives into the psychology of human connection. Until then, embrace the pause.